Hello guys, welcome back. I know it's been a little while, life has been a little crazy. Needed to step away, take some time, figure things out. But I wanted to come back with just like a sit down kind of story time regarding diabetic ketoacidosis. And kind of tell you my story and the symptoms, what to look for, and just kind of emphasize on how important it is. That if you're feeling these symptoms, that something is wrong. So the first thing, I actually get this question a lot. So people think that ketosis and ketoacidosis are related, either the same thing or related somehow, and they're actually not. The words are very similar that are thrown in there, but they're not the same thing. So basically, first of all, DKA is diabetic ketoacidosis. So ketosis, like on the keto diet, is when your body when you enter ketosis is when your body starts to burn fat as fuel, therefore you have the weight loss. Ketoacidosis is when your body is not producing enough insulin and your blood becomes acidic. So your body produces more acids in the blood, which are ketones. So there are ketones in your blood. So basically this happens when the body does not have enough insulin to basically break down those carbohydrates, those sugars. So two very different things, and ketosis will not lead you to ketoacidosis because usually on ketosis, if you're burning fat, you're not eating carbohydrates, so you're not, you won't need that, you won't have that blood sugar spike from not eating carbs, then you have enough insulin, you see how it all kind of goes together. So they're actually very opposite. So, symptoms of DKA. Now, symptoms of DKA in the early stages is pretty much just like high blood sugar. So frequent urination, thirst is a big one. When you're super thirsty, you feel like you can't fill up, like you're thirsty, and you keep drinking. And it's like that really horrible thirst. Like if you have diabetes and you've had high blood sugar, it's like that thirst where you're like chugging water and it's like not enough. A big one is weakness, fatigue, blurred vision for sure is a big one. A big one for me is loss of appetite. Whenever my blood sugar spikes a little bit, I completely lose my appetite. I know when I'm coming down because then that's when that's when I'm getting my appetite back and I start to get hungry. So loss of appetite is a big one for me along with these other symptoms. They put down on Google when I searched, it said fruity breath, which I haven't noticed that. I can't remember really when I had it. I had it 2 years ago and I only had it once my entire life, and I've had diabetes for about 30 years. And I can't remember, I just remember it was more like acidic tasting. I don't remember like fruity, but I think I know one of the symptoms of high blood sugar is like sweet breath. You can actually smell it on someone else. A more severe DKA, that's what happened to me. So there's loss of breath, like it's kind of hard to breathe, headache, vomiting, and it honestly feels like really, really bad weakness and fatigue to where like you can barely stand up. And then eventually you could even pass out. And then if not treated, you could go into a coma. If not treated, you could potentially die. So it could be fatal. My story, I used to use different infusion sites than I use now. Now I use the T-Slim, which I'll put up on the screen. Those are actual metal that stays in your body. My old infusion site used to be the little cannula, like it's not rubber, it's like a plastic. So it would go in with the introducer needle and then you pull out the introducer needle, but that plastic part stayed in. So knowing now what had happened, I changed my site at night, which is another thing you're not supposed to do, and this is why, because you want to make sure you're monitoring yourself and your blood sugar starts to go up. You can check your site and see if there's something wrong with the site. So I did it at night, and knowing now, my cannula actually kinked. So let's say this is my body, the introducer needle went in, it came out, but instead of the cannula staying in, the introducer needle pulled it out like this. But because that part was already taped and the introducer needle comes out of the taped part and the taped part stays, I didn't see that. So it kind of pulled the cannula like this. So there was no insulin being delivered at all. So I didn't, notice anything at all. So I go to bed. I wake up with insane thirst. So I check my blood sugar, I'm at like 360, and I'm like, okay, that's not good, but I do remember eating a lot the night before, so I just thought I had a rebound high from eating a ton of carbs. So I gave myself more insulin, and I was like, okay, time to go to work. And yeah, we grow smarter and we learn from our mistakes. And I should have checked my site then and there, but I didn't. So I went into work, and as I'm driving, I just feel worse and worse. So I stop at Starbucks to make matters worse, and I get coffee and a bagel. Now, before you come at me, this was 2 years ago, and I hate to say it, but I take care of myself well, I don't hate to say this part, but I take care of myself better now than I have 2 years ago, and I hate to say that. 2 years ago, I took better care of myself than 10 years ago, but I still wasn't perfect. So I got a bagel, I was starving, which now that I look back, like, the loss of appetite thing, but that came in later. So I got a bagel and coffee, and I went to work, had my bagel, and I'm walking into work, and I just feel so tired. I mean, it's that fatigue where you're like, I can't take another step. So I go to the little store by my work, and I get a bottle of water, like literally like this big, and I'm chugging it, and I'm like, holy crap, I feel horrible. And I don't remember what I did that weekend, but I remember thinking, I think I have heat stroke. Like, I thought I was having heat stroke. I looked up the symptoms, and some of the symptoms were like heat stroke. So I'm like, okay, like, holy crap. So I gave it an hour, I checked my blood sugar, I'm at like 490, and I'm like, what the hell is going on, right? So I don't have anything on me to change my site. So I give myself more insulin, I check my blood sugar again, look down the road, 500, and I'm like, okay, something's wrong, I feel horrible. So at that point, I'm like, I'm gonna be sick. So I run to the bathroom, sorry, gross, I vomit, but it was like lemon juice. It was so acidic. It felt like it was burning my throat. I threw up all the water, and I went to my manager and I said, hey, I just got sick in the restroom, I'm gonna leave. He was like, yeah, go, fine. So I get to my car and I fall asleep. I'm so tired and exhausted, I fall asleep. And looking back at it now, I could have probably slipped into a coma at that point. But I was like, I need to take a nap before I drive home. And an hour later I wake up, luckily. So I drive home, I'm like, holy crap, this is not smart. I just need to get home. I don't want to Uber, I don't want to leave my car, I just want to get home. So I get home, I change out of my work clothes, I literally put on I just have underwear and a t-shirt because I'm sweating hot. And I lay down on the couch and I'm like, can't keep my eyes open, I'm drinking water, and then I'm like, I'm gonna be sick. So I crawl to the bathroom, I can't even stand up, I crawl to the bathroom, I vomit all the water. And I check my blood sugar and it's unreadable. It's HI. If you've ever seen that on your monitor, HI means for my monitor, it's over 600. So I literally grab my phone, call my mom, I go, I don't know what's going on, and I tell her my symptoms, and I'm like, my blood sugar's through the roof, and this whole time, I didn't think to change my site. In that moment, I don't know, it's just you don't think straight. I don't know, my brain, I was confused. I was just like, well, I don't know what's going on. I must have eaten a lot. It just didn't make sense. I wasn't putting two and two together. So my mom looks at the symptoms and she's like, well, you definitely have the symptoms of heat stroke. She's like, are you vomiting? I said, yes. She's like, call 911. So there's nobody home with me. So I literally get off the phone with her. I call 911 and I'm like, a shortness of breath. I don't know what's happening. I'm a diabetic, this, that, and the other. So they're at my house in a minute and a half. So they take me, they go to read my blood, and it's unreadable in their monitor. And they're like, that's probably the issue. So I literally rip off my site and I look at it and it's completely kinked like this. And I'm like, oh my God. And all around the site is wet. And they're like, well, do you want to stay home? And I'm like, no, at this point, I don't even know what my blood sugar is. I think I need to be in the hospital. I'm so dehydrated, I can barely walk. I feel horrible, I keep throwing up. So they take me. I'm taken by the ambulance. I'm taken right in. I don't have to sit in the ER. So they draw my blood. I was severely dehydrated and my blood sugar was 720, which for me, that's the highest I can remember. I don't know what it was when I was diagnosed. Usually people's high blood sugar nightmare stories are when they're first diagnosed, because you're going through the stages where you're diabetic, but it's the beginning and you're not sure what's going on. So your blood sugar is just going up, up, up. So yeah, they actually went ahead and took off my pump. They gave me insulin through an IV, which is a thing. Insulin can be given intravenously. They kept me on a drip. The only thing that sucked was that it was a specific number. So it wasn't like based on your weight, it was just a set number. So you got like 5 units in the first hour and then 3 units second hour. So I'm like, okay, they're definitely gonna drop me pretty low. So within the first 2 hours from 720, I dropped down to like 440. And they didn't let me eat for, I think I was in the hospital for, I wanna say a little over 24 hours. And I only got ice chips. That's all they would let me eat, nothing else, water and ice chips. And then I remember the next day, in the morning I woke up and my blood sugar was 56. And if you've ever gone from even 300 to like 80, that drop makes you feel like just complete garbage. Like you feel so sick, headache, nausea, exhausted. You're physically exhausted. So they dropped me within 24 hours from 720 to 56. And then they still kept me after that for about 3 hours, making sure I was stable. So they brought me back up to like 150 and they kept me stable at around 150 to 130 for 3 hours. And they were like, you're good, put your pump back on, you know, everything. They also gave me like 4 more bags of liquids just because I was so dehydrated. I don't think I actually went to the restroom to pee for like a full 2 days. And then, yeah, I literally just drove home, like, because I think, yeah, the night I got taken in, my boyfriend came with his friend and they actually brought my car and they left it so that I could drive home the next day since I came in the ambulance. So yeah, after that, just was like drinking water like crazy. I would get a huge container before work and just down the whole thing. And yeah, I really started to take better care of myself after that. And then anytime there was anything where my blood sugar remained high for a number of hours with insulin, I would just change my site or change my insulin that's in the pump. Like usually if my pump's going down to a little bit of insulin, I'll just change it. I'll just get rid of those 10 or 20 units and I'll just put in new insulin. So yeah, I mean, that's my story. I just wanted to kind of spread that. Like if you're diabetic and even if you're not and you're feeling these things, you could potentially be diabetic. If you're getting these symptoms, go to the hospital. This happens quick. Like this was within maybe 10 hours of me, you know, changing my site to being in the hospital, 10, 12 hours, and just being in a really, really bad state and my body just refusing everything and just my blood being so acidic and the ketones are probably at an insane level. I don't even remember my blood work results from that. I just remember them saying that I was severely dehydrated and they just kept me on fluids for the entire time I was in the hospital, just over and over and over again. So yeah, definitely you guys, take care of yourselves. Do your research on stuff. I know a lot about these things. I've been through them. I wish I knew different things just from researching it and not having to go through it, but that's life. Hopefully I can help someone out there if you're feeling these things or feeling this way, you know, how to take care of it before it gets too bad. Because when your blood sugar is that high and then even if it drops, it's that up and down that causes, you know, a lot of organ issues and damage to your kidneys and things like that. Even your eyes. I notice a huge difference in my eyes when my blood sugars are high. So yeah, thank you guys so much for stopping by. I'm sorry I haven't been on here for a while, but I am back. My next video will probably be a recipe video, so stay tuned for that. But as always, leave me love down in the comments below. I love hearing from you guys. I love talking to you guys. I try to get back to every single person. So as always, thank you again. I love you guys so much, and I will see you next time.